Legislation changes, expectations from employees change.
For most companies, benefits is the second largest people cost, right, that you have.
It's an ambition they'll never reach, right?
I think that's been a buzzword for like 5 years.
Healthy, happy people are better employees. So hi everyone, and welcome to the Friends with Benefits podcast, the essential podcast for rewards and benefit leaders. This is our first episode, and we wanted to start this one off with a bang. So the title of this first episode is Why Benefits Matter More Than Ever. And I think benefits do matter more than ever. It would be remiss of us to not do some introductions first, I guess. So I'll start. So I'm Carl. I'm the VP of Benefit Design and Partnerships here at Ben. Been with Ben for 18 months or so. And my role within the organisation is to help clients on their strategic journey in relation to benefit. I know I don't look it, but I've been in the industry for 25 years. Previously led the client director function for Mercer, also worked at Aon and a few other employee benefit consultants. And delighted to be joined by David. So David, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Yeah, awesome. I'm not as experienced as Carl or Brandon, I guess. But yeah, I'm David, and really looking forward to the conversation that we'll have with you guys. In terms of my background, yeah, I'm one of the founders here at Ben, and we're really trying to bring innovation to this stodgy industry. I don't come from the benefits background, but I think I've become dangerous over the last 5 years or so. Every day is a school day, though. In terms of where I've come from, though, it's mostly in the financial services industry. That's my background, and it's obviously part of what we do, right? We, if you think about a benefit, it's just a payment that happened behind the scenes, which really brings a different perspective to what we're trying to do here when it comes to disrupting this industry.
I suppose the first topic we should discuss is why have we started this podcast, right? Why is this of interest to people? Why should they tune in every week? From your point of view, David, what value are we trying to bring to people?
I mean, this is something that we've been wanting to do for a while. So Ben, we're about 5 years old, so it's just the beginning of the journey for us. But we've since we started, sort of noticed that when we were thinking about setting up the company, even there's really a lack of, we found, sort of practical content and advice for a reward practitioner. Something that we've been thinking about for a long time. We really want to create this forum where we get to engage with the best benefits and reward leaders around the world, and the people who are really at the forefront of trying to drive innovation in the space. And ultimately, we just want to nerd out, talk about interesting things. We do this in our spare time anyways. Why not share it with the world? Yeah, definitely. And I think this industry is renowned for putting a lot of content behind paywalls, right? Yes. There's not a lot of open source data, and we want to really change that as a player in this space and help reward leaders navigate the complexities of benefits around the world. So yeah, and we do absolutely enjoy nerding out in this space. Too much maybe sometimes.
Maybe, yeah. What have we learned from the years of working in this space? David, you're relatively new to it compared to me, but benefits is complex, right?
When we first got started with the companies, for sure, we underestimated the complexity when it comes to helping companies to manage this at scale. And it's one of the things that we get still really excited about, in the morning, is nobody has solved this huge problem. I think as practitioners and the folks that we'll have in the room with us as well, you'll notice that. And yeah, every day, as I said before, I learned a little bit more about how companies should actually be doing this.
Yeah, and I think the complexity of benefits globally, I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years, and every day's a school day still, right? Legislation changes, expectations from employees change. Even on a local level, it's complex. When you start to then think of companies that are trying to navigate this on a global scale, it's a daunting task, right? Certainly, we want to try and help where we can to shed some light into the darkness.
Yeah, I guess to me the thing that's interesting about the space, if you think about it, for most companies, benefits is the second largest people cost, right, that you have. And for a lot of the companies as well, depending on what you do, is biggest cost that you have is people cost, right? And it's actually remarkable. Isn't as much, I guess, content dedicated to discussing these kinds of topics. It's one of the things that we want to change, right? And in terms of the global complexity is also one of the things that I think most people underestimate, as you said, Carl, right? Everything, companies are different. What they want to do is different. The different geographies, they should be approaching it in a different way as well. And so that's something that we learn every time when we talk to clients, and most people don't know exactly what's happening even in their local environments, right? So it's quite remarkable, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many nuances that play into that global positioning, in terms of economic, political, cultural nuances that determine, the benefits look very differently around the world, don't they? And I think that's part of the problem, is that companies come into it with an aspiration for equity, and it's an ambition they'll never reach, right? Because of that complexity of maturity of markets, all of those things.
Yeah, and it's always evolving and changing as well, right? In terms of what what's going on in as you say, in the global macro environment. That means that companies should be evolving their benefits, but the sad thing, I guess, about it is that a lot of times they don't, right? Like we find a lot of companies who are kind of just doing the same old thing or trying to do the same old thing, and every product is different, works in different ways, and it's again one of the things that surprises me. You think about benefits, a lot of companies will think about retirement, insurances, those kinds of products, but the plethora of things that are available now and companies want to offer and should be thinking about offering is just like astounds me, and that's part of why we want to kind of like have these conversations, and it's the change that we're trying to bring about in the industry as well.
And it's interesting, isn't it, that I think the expectation of the employee is changing rapidly as we move through generations. There's almost an expectation from younger employees now that their employer will meet them at certain milestones in their life in terms of support. But then I still find that sometimes HR, even though it's one of the biggest spends that a company benefits, is one of the biggest spends that a company has, coupled with the fact that employees are demanding of this support, I still find that sometimes at that C-suite level, there's a lack of desire to do anything, which I think is something that, again,
why is that, right? It's one of the things that confounds me a bit as well, is like it's such a rich sort of space, and yet even when you're talking to some large global multinationals, it's like even the benefits managers themselves don't know what the benefits are, right? So it's quite curious, isn't it? Like it is such a big investment. We always say benefits is anywhere between 10 to 30% of payroll, right? Like that's massive. Yeah. But yet you look at it, and a lot of companies don't really focus on getting the most bang for the buck, right? It's kind of a check the box, tick exercise. I wonder.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I've been wondering it for years as well. I think it is maybe changing a little bit. I think any leader worth their salt will say that their people are their greatest asset, and if you truly believe that, if you can maximize the output from that asset. I mean, I hate talking about people like as an asset, but ultimately, if you can maximize the output from that asset in the sense of healthy, happy people are better employees. It's common sense, isn't it?
It sounds so trite, right? In a way, like it is common sense.
I think I think that's hopefully. Even just that sort of thinking of it that way is enough, hopefully, for C-suite to maybe start to realise that this is it's worthy of their time, right? Yep. So I guess that brings us on to how are we going to help people with all of these problems. We're going to speak to some experts. We're going to bring some brilliant people in. So let's give people a sneak peek of who we're going to talk to, right? Can we name some names? Can we?
Yeah, I think we have a really excited lineup of guests that are coming into the podcast, right? Some of the reward leaders at some of the largest sort of brand names that you might recognize, folks like the Metas, the JP Morgans, like those kinds of folks. But also we want to, it's not only about the companies that can spend the most on this stuff, right? Or have the most compelling programs already. We definitely want to bring practitioners of all kinds of levels, right? Not just head of reward leaders, benefits managers, payroll leaders as well, but also talk to folks like the brokers and advisors and consultants in the space. Really, really important, right? Yep. Bring in some folks from a lot of the insurance carriers and other innovative providers as well that we're exciting to talk to. Yeah, I think we have a really amazing lineup over the next few months, and we're really excited about the folks that we're bringing in.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were supposed to have a guest today, right? But, HR being HR, pulled in different directions. So, but we thought, it's a great opportunity to maybe set the scene for what this is actually going to be and what it's going to look like. And this space over here that you probably can't see will be filled at some point with someone who we can interrogate and really learn from. I think like lived experience is the best experience. So
yeah, I mean, for as much of the challenges that we talked about earlier, there are great people in the space, right? And a lot of the times we get to speak to a lot of them, right, on a daily basis, and we just want to highlight some of the amazing work that some of these folks are doing as well. And again, like we don't think that a lot of the existing content out there does that necessarily.
Obviously we're gonna have some great guests coming up, as we've just discussed.
Totally.
what are some of the things we're expecting them to cover? What do we think is going to come up? I mean, there's the buzzwords at the moment, AI, right?
I think that's been a buzzword for like 5 years, but it is palpable, right? Like, and some of the things that you can do with this stuff nowadays is amazing. So yes, definitely AI. You're gonna hear a lot about AI.
Definitely about AI. Return on investment pressure. I imagine, I still hear it these days when I speak to reward leaders that there is pressure to, to prove that ROI, and it's difficult, isn't it? Because some of it's a bit fluffy, untangible, and I imagine from a CFO's perspective, if I don't write a check for it, I don't really care about it. When you sort of start talking about absence and productivity, it becomes a little bit more difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a topic that's definitely kind of come up a lot, right? How do companies think about this? How do benefits managers think about this? How do VP rewards? Even when we're having conversations with folks, sometimes it's a bit unclear, actually. But I think it's one of the things that we want to help companies get better at, like being informed in data, thinking about ROI, and actually putting this at the forefront, because you can say great things. And as you said previously, like obviously, happy, engaged employees are going to be better employees. Yeah. But ultimately, like you need to think about the business case for these kinds of things and what you do, right? And maximizing the value of every single dollar that you spend on benefits and reward at large as well, right? Like how do you think about reward strategies that lead to impact? I think that's going to come up a lot because, frankly, it's difficult, right? When we talk to most benefits managers, they don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's one of the things we definitely want to have a lot of conversations on.
Yeah, and then you've also got this. I mean, it's not even an argument for me, but this conundrum, I guess, between personalisation and standardisation, right? So anything other than personalisation in the free world is nonsense, as far as I'm concerned. But yet most companies still don't offer that ability to personalize benefits, do they? They standardize it.
I mean, that's one of the things when we got started with Ben, right? That we were thinking about, hey, flexible benefits. But if you looked at what most companies do and classify as flexible benefits, it's not particularly flexible, is it? No. You get to make a little bit of changes on pensions. Maybe I get to, add my dependents into my health insurance. Like how flexible is that really? So I think that's going to come up a lot, and it has repercussions on the ROI topic as well, right? Like it's ultimately about providing the right thing to the right employee at the right time. A couple of the topics I think will come up a lot, like education in the space, right? These products, as you said, are complex. Yeah. And if you're not in the industry, the reality is like a lot of employees like don't know, right? That's part of the problem that we're trying to solve, right? How does health insurance work? Like, I don't know what's covered, what's not. How does
I'm a firm believer that if you provide choice, you have an obligation to educate. I imagine that's going to come up a lot, right? Not just the education piece, but the engagement piece as well.
I think there's probably this constant debate, right, on like how much choice do you provide. Like I think a lot of organizations still have a little bit of this paternalistic view of like I know what's good for you, so I'm going to make the decisions here. And I think there's a lot of friction and a lot of conversations that we're having with folks in terms of, do you just is it a free for all? How much do you actually offer? How much choice is there? So I think, choice, flexibility, engagement, something that's going to come up.
It's interesting because you then get into the conversation around utilization. Is that a metric that should determine success or not? If you're putting more and more choice in, then utilization becomes less of a metric by which to determine success. I mean, I'm all for choice, right? I'm chuck everything in. I think, I really don't buy the paternalistic argument either. I think the conundrum of choice, or whatever the terminology is they use, I hear it a lot in this industry, and I just don't get it. Like nobody goes to Tesco Express because they're confused and overwhelmed by the choice in the Tesco Superstore. Yeah. Right? People are used to choice in every aspect of their life. So,
plus, I mean, people are smart, right? Like if you give them the tools,
most people are smart.
If you give them the tools to things, like most people will make the decisions that might be right for them, as long as again you have that obligation to educate, obviously. Yeah. But there's incentives for them to get it right, and so I think that those types of things are going to come up a lot. We can't ignore the environment, right, that we're in at the moment in terms of from a macro point of view. So there's a lot going on in terms of what's going on in the world. Is a recession coming? And I think companies, and by virtue of that, reward benefits leaders have never been under more pressure in terms of trying to get impact from what they are offering. So I suspect that's probably going to come up a lot as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So lots of exciting things to talk about.
Lots of exciting things to talk about.
Right. And we'll have some really exciting guests to share that insight with. So.
I guess, so we focused a lot on the benefits aspect. What do you think will come up more broadly that reward leaders, providers, brokers are facing as well?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think I think I imagine what will come up a lot is I think the market is shrinking in terms of in terms of the providers that can offer these products and also the brokers that can service these products, and even in our space, in the platform space, right? There's everyone's buying everyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of consolidation.
A lot of consolidation. So I think from a reward leader perspective, I think there's going to be certainly some challenges around choice and actually being able to purchase products and services that are really attuned to what they're after, right? Like you need choice, as we were just talking about, right? Choice is everything. I think from a broker perspective, they're being squeezed, right? Now, They want to provide consultancy and advice and guidance to their employees, but they're having cost pressures put on them by their clients. So again, how can we as an industry ensure that we're providing the right advice, but in a budget that's sustainable for our clients? And I think the other huge topic that's going to come up, right, is, and we've talked about cost pressures a few times, but certainly around things like healthcare inflation globally, right? I mean, it's getting out of control. I think we're getting to a critical point now where companies are starting to question whether they can sustain providing these coverages.
Yeah.
And really, they have three levers to pull, right? One is reduce the benefit level. The second one is make the employee pay more towards it. Not particularly palatable, either of those two. The third one is invest in health and well-being in the organisation and try and improve it and preventative health. That's a longer term play, but I think that's probably the right lever to pull. But companies need to start doing that now. They need to start what they probably should have started a long time ago. But
I definitely think those are all interesting topics. I'm also excited to talk about people. How do they think about benefits in the context of all of reward, right? For example, and how does equity choice and sort of equity plans, stock options, long-term incentives, short-term incentives, how do they think about it as a whole? Because the fact is benefits doesn't exist in isolation, right? Like it needs to be part of a cohesive people and people engagement, employer value proposition, and it all starts with that, right? Like what's the business strategy, business objectives, and then how does that actually determine your people objectives, reward objectives, and then flows down into ultimately benefits. So I'm excited to talk about reward leaders about that.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see whether many actually tangibly try to tie their people strategy to their business strategy as well. I think that's something we talk about a lot with clients, and it'd be really interesting to see what the outcomes of those situations are. So in terms of hot takes and predictions, then I mean we talked about AI a little bit. We're going to talk about it a hell of a lot more over the coming weeks and months. But just very quickly on AI, is it going to kill HR or supercharge it? How's it going to impact HR? What are the couple of quick sort of takes?
Yeah, I think as we discussed a bit earlier, right? Like I think AI has been talked through by death. It feels like at times over the last 5 years or so, but and it is something that we were really skeptical at Ben also in the early days. But I think it is going to really fundamentally change the way that at least the benefits industry works. We're starting to see some of the early signs of that and applications across all different kinds of industries. I mean, at Ben specifically, or in benefits, we are exploring a lot with co-pilots, right? Like getting the answer to the employee and to the admin at the right point in time, because nobody wants to fluff around with a report or something like that and not get the answer that they need. Like ultimately you're trying to do something, and we think AI can be a really powerful way of getting to that answer as quickly as possible, right? So it's really about making people as productive and effective in their roles. I also think like it's remarkable to me how much manual work there is in benefits, how much administration, right? So we think like AI can effectively totally rewrite the way that works, right? In the sense of, for example, how do you get data into the right places, right? How do companies work with data? We're starting to explore, think about agentic AI a lot, right? So agents, what does that mean? Like actually computers doing what humans used to do, right? Or only humans could do. And so we're really excited about what that is going to do. And this isn't necessarily about replacing people, even though it kind of is actually, right? But it's about making sure that people are as efficient and impactful as they can. I think there's a bit of, there's always fear mongering around, are the machines going to take over? And I think if anything, the history of technology has taught us that when technology does come in, it makes people more powerful, right? And you can see that with every sort of big platform shift that has happened from personal computers through to the internet, through to mobile. The same thing is going to happen with AI.
Yeah, I mean, the history of literature and films paints a different narrative, but...
Carl, what are your biggest hot takes or predictions over the next couple of years?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, again, the AI piece, right? I mean, I see AI being very powerful in this space in the sense of employee logs in, asks an AI, or says to an AI, or maybe it is even prompted by the AI.
Totally.
How are you feeling today?
Why do we even have to think, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. Prompted by the AI. How are you feeling today, Carl? Went for a run. I didn't, but let's pretend I went for a run at the weekend and I sprained my ankle, and the AI is like, well, I'm sorry to hear that, Carl. I went running at the weekend. I mean, that's a lie, but let's say I went running at the weekend, hurt my leg, and the AI prompts me, says, how you feeling? I say, I've hurt my ankle, I sprained it at the weekend running. AI comes back saying, well, I'm really sorry that, to hear that. We've let your HR team know, because you're going to be off for a couple of days. And also, here's your PMI claim number. It's a musculoskeletal direct claim line. You don't need to go and see your GP. Here you go. And that to me is where I think this has become super powerful. You don't need to know how these things work anymore. The AI will just guide you through it. So I think that's where I think this is going to go.
Amazing. I hope so.
Yeah, me too. So we want to finish this podcast with a bit of a tradition, and the tradition we've decided upon is benefits confessions. Okay, so in your 5 or 6 years, David, of running Ben and being in the benefits industry, have you got a benefits confession?
I think I have many benefits confessions. I guess like the thing that, and we talked a little bit about earlier, that stands out is just underestimating the complexity, right? When we got started, sort of not necessarily talking down, but being like, hey, this isn't rocket science. Like, how do we make it much easier? And so just working with some clients on our early days is probably really bumpy, actually. And we're really thankful for the clients that we have in the beginning, because they are the ones who really taught us how this industry works and the challenges that they're solving. Yeah. So if you're out there, Urban Things and other folks that have been with us for a long time, thank you, because there was a lot of learning, that's for sure. How about you, Carl? Yeah, what you've obviously seen a lot, you've done a lot, you've been around all the brokers, consultants, clients, you advise some of the biggest, largest companies in the world. What's a benefit confession?
I mean, so obviously I'm a model professional, right? So never given a bit of bad advice in my career. I mean, when I did start, I was an underwriter. I mean, underwriters, right, it's mood based. Let's face it, right? There's no science behind it. It's if you're in a good mood, you'll price well. If you're in a bad mood, you'll price badly. I must confess, I did have one day where I was in a good mood, but a quote came across my desk to price when I was back at Aviva, and the quote was for Ipswich Town Football Club, and I'm a Norwich City football fan. So I purposefully loaded the rates by 500%, and obviously we didn't win the business.
Well, there you go.
But I couldn't face us, but them being a client of ours, so... I've never told anyone that. Nobody knew because I had an underwriting limit that was beyond the underwriting level of the risk that they were asking for. So yeah, I might have to get Aviva come after me there.
I think it's going to be hard to beat, Carl. It's going to be hard to beat. You're setting the standard here for a benefit confession.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get loads more from our guests over the coming weeks and months. And everyone tune in to the next episode, which we'll bring to you soon. Right, so I think we're done there, David. So look, thanks to everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed the first episode. Please do subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. And we'll see you next time with some exciting guests where 2 will become 3.